Ezzy Talk Sports, today we're talking football and we're back with another video. This one's a little bit different. Obviously we've done the Premier League roundups before, but today we're going to be going over your guys' hot takes and I'm going to be saying my opinion on them, whether I think they're good, whether I think they're bad. And just a little spoiler, some of these takes have been absolutely ridiculous. Without further ado, let's get straight into it, and if you enjoy, don't forget to smash a like and subscribe. So the first take is, wow, Bukayo Saka will have a far better career than Jude Bellingham. Now this one's actually ridiculous. It doesn't even say far, it says far better than Jude Bellingham. I think, wow. Let's just first get into it. Who's had a better career as of right now? Jude Bellingham. I think that's fair to say, that's without a shadow of a doubt. Bellingham has won more. Saka's only won an FA Cup. I think he's played at a higher level. They both played for England. I think Bellingham's probably performed a little bit better for England than Saka. But yeah, Jude Bellingham, he's won the league, he's won the Champions League, won the Copa del Rey. He's firmly established himself as one of the best, if not the best midfielder in the world. Bukayo Saka, on the other hand, only won an FA Cup. I think he's established himself as one of the best best wingers in the Premier League. I don't think Bukayo Saka right now can say he's one of the best right wingers in the world. Is he right world class? I'm not too sure, to be honest. I think he is far below that of Mohamed Salah. But let's dive straight into the take. I think this is absolutely ridiculous. Jude Bellingham, I think, is a player who's going to go down as an all-timer when he retires. I don't think Bukayo Saka will retire as an all-timer. Maybe a Premier League all-timer, but not an all-timer in terms of football. I see Bellingham winning multiple Champions Leagues, multiple more leagues. I don't think Saka will ever win the Champions League if he stays at Arsenal. Can he win the Premier League? Maybe, but again, with Arsenal, I just don't really see them winning the Premier League in the next few years. Obviously, they've come close, but close isn't bite the cookie. So I think this take is absolutely ridiculous. Bukayo Saka will nowhere near have as good a career as Jude Bellingham. The next take we have, Jadon Sancho and Marcus Rashford are better than Amad Diallo. Wow. That is an interesting take because a lot of Man United fans, they've been talking about how Amad Diallo is the Messi, talking about how good Amad Diallo is. And obviously Sancho and Rashford have been not so much Rashford, but definitely Sancho have been labelled by Man United fans and by pundits as, not Man United standard. Especially Rashford in other circumstances. He's faced a lot of critics from the media, he's been scapegoated a lot of the time. But yeah, Amad Diallo is kind of the golden boy for Man United wingers right now. If you think about how Man United wingers have been treated, we've seen Garnacho come up under a lot of stick from the fans. We've seen Antony get a lot of stick from the fans. They've obviously brought in Cunha and Mbeumo. And United fans think a lot of Amad Diallo. But you know what, with this statement, Sancho and Rashford, I think this statement is true. I think Jadon Sancho and Marcus Rashford are better than Amad Diallo. For me, when I watch Amad Diallo, I'm not really wowed by him. I think the only time I've been impressed by Amad Diallo is obviously that goal against Man City that Etihad last year. But when I watch Amad Diallo play, I'm never like, wow. And to be honest, with Rashford and Sancho, we'll get onto the argument. Wow, I'll argue the case a little bit better in a second. But Amad Diallo, I think he never really wows me. He doesn't have that star power. He doesn't have that X factor. I think he's a little bit too skinny as well. In terms of, I just think he gets bullied a little bit on the ball. And I just don't really see the hype in him, to be honest. I don't think you can win the Premier League or win the Champions League with Amad Diallo as your right winger. Let's talk about Sancho and Rashford. Sancho and Rashford, while they may not have reached their levels or they may not be consistent at the levels that they can get to that level. I don't think it can be denied that we have seen a level for Marcus Rashford and Jadon Sancho that Amad Diallo has never touched. I think that's not even a hot take to say. I think Jadon Sancho in his prime, when he's playing well, certain games for Chelsea last year, when he was at Dortmund, he's elite. He's electric. His link-up play is brilliant. A bit similar to Noni Madueke, I think, in terms of he's not necessarily a GA person, but, when you watch him on the ball, he's making things happen. Chances come through him. And in terms of Marcus Rashford, wow, 22-23 Rashford, he was inevitable. He had a very good stint at Villa. I can't lie, I haven't followed him too much at Barcelona. He got an assist this weekend, I believe. But yeah, I think as a Liverpool fan, I would rather have Marcus Rashford in my team than Amad Diallo. I'd rather have Jadon Sancho in my team than Amad Diallo. So I'm going to give that one. I think that's true. I agree with that one. Next one, again, on the Arsenal theme. David Raya is currently the best goalkeeper in the world. Just get that one out of here quickly, man. David Raya is good, But I think he's got Cal the Dragon syndrome. I think David Raya has got Cal the Dragon syndrome. He's nowhere near better than Alisson. Alisson's a lot more consistent than him in terms of performances, maybe not in terms of injuries and being available for selection. But yeah, David Raya can pull off some worldy saves. But I think again, there are a lot of times where you can do better. Even that Szoboszlai goal, obviously, was it Joe Hart? I think came on Sky Sports defending him. But personally, I think he could have done better with that Szoboszlai free kick. And don't get me wrong, he's a world class keeper. I don't know about world class. He's a very good keeper. He's a top 3 keeper in the league. But no, he is not the best goalkeeper in the world. Alisson is the best goalkeeper in the world. Next, we have Thomas Tuchel is winning England the World Cup. Whew, that is a juicy take. I think Thomas Tuchel had his best performance as an England manager in the previous game. I think before that had been a little bit lackluster, not really showing too much attacking intensity and creative output. But I think Thomas Tuchel is a tournament manager. That's what he does. Tommy Tuchel's Tricky Blues. You think against in the Champions League run that he did for Chelsea, where obviously he captured the European Cup for the Blues. This is what Thomas Tuchel does. He's an incredible tournament manager. Got PSG to the final. And I think this is a bold take. I think for me, the favourites always have to be France. You've got Mbappe, you've got Ekitike, you've got Desiree Doué. The list goes on. Now it could be here for ages. But England have a little bit of what I call Arsenal syndrome, or the bottle gene. I think they're always just gonna not have enough. Something that the Lionesses don't have, by the way. They can be the underdog in the team. They can be the worse off team, but they'll still win. Whereas England, they can be the better team. They can have the better squad, the better players, the better lineup, and still does not get quite over the line. And I think Thomas Tuchel, I think he'd probably be one of the best men for the role, but I just don't see England doing it, man. I just can't imagine England in a final of a World Cup, coming up against France, coming up against Brazil, coming up against Spain, getting over the line and beating them in the finals. I think, no, Thomas Tuchel will not win England the World Cup. Final one, this is a good one, topical as well. Ruben Amorim is the worst manager in Premier League history. I think Man United fans right now, they're so unhappy. And I think he's statistically the worst Man United manager since the Second World War, which is ridiculous. Guys are talking about, usually you hear if it's a bad manager, you hear, of the last 5 years, or if they're really bad, last decade. If they're really bad, you might hear, since 2000, since 1945, since the World Cup, since the World War, that's ridiculous. 36% win rate. You actually can't believe it. When I was actually thinking about it the other day, Man United have not won 2 games in a row under Ruben Amorim. 2 games in a row. It's getting out. It's getting out of hand, to be honest. And do I think a manager can come into Man United and just fix it crazy, fix it and like kind of how Klopp did, kind of how Guardiola did? No, I think they're too much a work in progress for that. But I don't think there's many top managers that could do a worse job than Ruben Amorim. No matter how bad Man United are, no matter how bad you think their players are, some of their players are overrated. You think some of their players are. They're not the 50th best team in the league. They don't have the 50th best squad in the league. They should be getting top half minimum. And I think with a decent manager, they could be pushing top 6. As for the worst manager in Premier League history, the one that springs to mind, what was that Palace manager? Was it Frank de Boer, who I think lost all his first 6 games and got sacked? Worst manager. To be honest, he might be, he might be the worst manager in Premier League history, because for Man United, I think I saw Lias make a very good point. The standard for failure at Man United has dropped so much. For failure for Ole was coming second and losing the Europa League final. The failure for Ten Hag was winning trophies, but and getting top 4, and he got sacked for missing out on the top 4. The standard for failure for Mourinho was getting a treble and coming second. The standard for failure for Amorim is coming 15th and getting embarrassed by Grimsby. It's ridiculous. So you know what? I'm going to say that's true. I think Ruben Amorim may be the worst manager in Premier League history. Yeah. That's all for today. A bit of a shorter one. If you like this video, comment. Let me know your hot takes, and you could feature in another video. But yeah, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Thank you.